राम लखन सीता में श्री रामायण है पुण्य कथा श्री राम की। श्री रामायण है
Roll number
पुण्य
124.
कथा
Don't talk.
श्री राम की।
Roll number 124. Don't talk.
क्या जानकारी बोल कर रही रे।
Okay. Is this slide visible to everyone? Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So today we will discuss about the 80486 and the 80586, which is a Pentium processor. So let's start. So these are the main features or the salient features of 80486 microprocessor. First of all, it's a 32-bit microprocessor. So 32-bit integer core has been implemented here to process the 32-bit data bytes. Okay. Another as well as it can process 8 or 16-bit also. So actually, what happened in this processor? A complete set of arithmetic and logical operations on 8-bit or 16-bit or 32-bit data types are used using that full width of ALU, and it has some general purpose registers. 8 general purpose registers are there. So using these registers along with the ALU circuit, it can process the 32-bit operations. Several versions are available according to the operating frequency, like 25 megahertz frequency. The lowest frequency for 80486 is 25 megahertz and the maximum is 100 megahertz. And 25 megahertz, 33 megahertz, 50 megahertz and 100 megahertz versions are available in the market. It has 32-bit ALU, arithmetic and logic unit. Another is it has 32-bit data bus. 32-bit data bus. Now, we have seen that in 16-bit data bus, in case of 8086 microprocessor or 80286 microprocessor, data buses are 16-bit. So that at a time, a 16-bit of data can be processed within one cycle. Okay, here 32-bit data buses are there. Now, in case of previous microprocessor, what happened? There are two memory banks. One is the even bank, another is the odd bank. So even and odd bank, these are equally divided, so that lower 8-bit, so using the even address bank, lower 8-bit data will be processed, and using the odd address bank, upper 8-bit address, upper 8-bit data can be processed. So total 16-bit, if you want to access, then you must enable these two banks at the same time. Now, all of you know that each memory location can store maximum 8-bit of data. 8-bit of data. Okay, so in 8086 or 286, what happened? Two memory banks are enabled. So using so within one bank, maximum in using each memory location, maximum 8-bit of data can be stored. Now, if you want to store 16-bit of data, how many memory locations do you require? You need two consecutive memory locations, because each memory location can store maximum 8-bit of data. Okay, this is right. If you want to store more than 16-bit, means if you want to store 30-bit data bytes, then how can you store it? You need how many memory locations do you require? You need 4 consecutive memory locations. So if you need 4 consecutive memory locations, so these 4 memory locations can be divided into 4 banks. Okay, so the first memory location will be 0000, these memory locations, then 0001 in second bank, 0002 in the next bank, and 0003 in the next bank. So 4 banks are required. Using each bank, 8-bit of data can be transferred. Okay, so here, as it's a 30, it needs 32-bit data bus to access data bytes. 4 memory banks are attached. So using these 4 memory banks, each bank can store maximum 8 bit of data in each memory location. Okay, so that's why there are 4 memory banks are available, um, and as well as in 32 it has 32 bit address bus. Now, according to the rules, how can you calculate the total memory space, total physical memory space inside any microprocessor that can be accessed uh, using the rules to the power number of address lines. So here 32 address lines are required to process to transfer the address. That's why 2 to the power 32, which is equivalent to 4 gigabytes. So it has maximum memory space of 4 gigabyte. 4 gigabyte physical memory is there. In 80486, what happened, the next point is it has 3 versions. Okay, one is 80486SX, another is GX, and another is DX. Now the difference between these 3 versions are that is in 80486SX 32-bit CPU with no floating point unit. Now, what happened in previous microprocessor or in like in 8086, 80186, 286, or 386, whatever. In these type of microprocessor, if you want to process any floating point numbers or certain complex arithmetic operations, you need to connect a coprocessor, math coprocessor. Okay, or it's called numeric coprocessor. So for 8086, it was 8087. That is the coprocessor which can be connected, which can be interfaced to process any floating point operation using 8086 microprocessor. So in case of 8086, 8087 was numeric processor, numeric coprocessor. In case of 80186, it was 80187 numeric coprocessor. In case of 286, it was 80287, and in case of 80386, it was 80387. And now what happened in the advancement of the technology of this microprocessor compared to 80286 or 386, it has a on-chip floating point unit. Okay, on chip floating point unit. So you don't need to connect externally this floating point unit, because it is already implemented inside the CPU, inside the chip, inside the microprocessor IC. So that's why the faster operation can be takes place, so that you can there will be no speed mismatch or disparity among the bus processor and the external devices. Okay, and what happened in previous microprocessor, the same bus, the external bus which is connected to that processor as well as to the floating point unit which is external to the processor in previous cases. So the bus timing is not so good, because the same bus can be used for 2 different devices. That is, one processor, another is the floating point unit. So that's why now Intel discovered that if this one chip on chip floating point unit is implemented, then what happened, the internal bus is required to execute it, so that the required number of operations can be more faster. Okay, that can be happened in more speed, much more speed compared to the previous microprocessors. Okay, another is now 80486GX, which is ultra low power 32-bit CPU. Same, it has no floating point unit, only 32-bit architecture has been implemented, so that every instructions those are performed by the 80486 processor, DX processor. It can be implemented in this processor also, SX and GX. Okay, and why these? Okay, next is 80486DX, which has, this is the most successful version, commercially successful version, because it is a 32-bit microprocessor along with on-chip floating point unit. Now, why these variations are there? Why Intel has discovered these 3 types of devices? Now, suppose you have one such system which is 80286 or 386 based system. Now you need to just upgrade your system using certain position or certain portion of your system. You don't need to uh, interface a whole new system. You just upgrade the previous version which you have. Okay, so that's why if someone needs to implement a new system, he or she can buy this 80486DX processor. Or if someone has already some system, so that he can only implement this thing, this 80486SX only, because already he or she has the floating point unit externally that is connected to the processor. It doesn't need the on-chip FPU because of cost. Okay, so that's why these three types of versions are available in the market. And the next point is it has 64 terabyte. It has 64 terabyte virtual memory. Now, all of you are familiar with the virtual memory concept, cache memory, virtual memory, which I have discussed earlier. Now, the virtual memory means it's a concept that is implemented inside your memory, so that maximum memory space can be used by the processor, and it can be in faster way. Any operation can be done in very high speed. So that's why total 64 terabyte virtual memory can be implemented using this processor, 80486 processor. And why this 64 terabyte of total memory space or the virtual memory space can be used? Because of the maximum, we have the selector concept. All of you have selector and descriptor. I have already explained this selector, descriptor, what is selector, what is descriptor, and how the table looks like. So in this processor, maximum 16 kilobyte of selectors are there, and 4 gigabytes offset, means the physical memory address can be accessed. So actually 16 kilobyte of selector and the 4 gigabytes of offset gives a total of 256 bits, 246 bits, 246 bits, which is equivalent to 64 terabyte of logical address space per task, so that it can be implement that task using this 64 terabyte virtual memory concept. And another features are it has segmentation technique, paging technique, and the protection mechanism technique. Now, what is the use of this technique? Because of the virtual memory address calculation purpose, you need segmentation, you need the paging concept, and as well as if you have the protection mechanism, so that there must be some 4 privilege levels are considered. Using that 4 privilege levels, means the privilege level 0, privilege level 1, 2, and 3, different type of applications are there, so that if one task is performed by the processor or one program is performed by the processor, so it cannot go to the another task, or it cannot interfere the another program space or program task, so it can be protected. So if any system means if any system program is being executed at certain time, then no application program can be interfere that system program, otherwise everything will be crushed. Okay, uh, another example, like in 8086, what happened? We need to give the segment address, we need to give the offset address, and by using the segment address into 10 plus offset address, we can calculate the physical address. So actually end user, means programmer, can give the address as a segment address and offset address, so that the actual physical address can be identified. But in this case, in 80386 or 486 from in 286, the protection mechanism is implemented, so that no programmer can go to the system program memory space. Okay, so that he or she can alter that program or cannot enter into that space, cannot modify it. uh, that's why the protection mechanism is there, and OS operating system is implemented here to identify or to check whether any application program is currently related to that privilege level or not. If the same privilege level is there, then no problem. If the privilege levels are different, then it cannot be given the access to the end user or the programmer. Okay, so if you have seen the previous level diagram which I have discussed last few lectures, in that diagram one circle is there, four circles are implemented consecutively. The inner circle is called the previous level 0, which is the kernel. In case of OS operating system, there are different types of applications, and the kernel level is the very vital part, or it has the highest privilege level. And the next is the OS application, OS extension, or next is your application program. So different privilege level is mentioned according to the task or according to the program. Okay, so another so that is the protection mechanism which can be implemented by the using of privilege level, different privilege levels. So these are the salient features. Another is here it has cache memory. So cache unit is there, which includes 8 kilobyte cache, both storing of code and data. And it has some cache management logic, some algorithms are there. So here both code and data. So I have discussed last week that there are 4 types of cache. Last week I have it is given that there are 4 types of caches. Cache memories are implemented: iCache, Dcache, unified cache, and split cache. Okay, so here's both code and data cache is available. Means it is called the unified cache. In unified cache, what happened? Both the it is used to store the code cache and the data cache at the same time. So here unified cache is available, and next point is it is connected to through a 64-bit inter-unit transfer bus to the segmentation unit and the ALU and the floating point unit. It has the connection. The last feature, which is very important, that is the cache unit is also directly connected to the paging unit, bus interface unit, and the prefetcher through 128 lines, permitting the prefetching of 16 bytes of instructions simultaneously. So 16 bytes of instructions, you need 16 lines. Means one line can access 8 bits. So if you need 16 bytes, so 16 into 8, that means total 120 lines you need to access the instructions at the same time. 16 bytes of instructions at the same time, you need 128 lines. Okay, another is here the pipelining concept is also implemented, but here the pipelining is three-stage pipelining. That means first it needs to fetch, then the prefetch it and stores inside some prefetch unit, and then it is go to the decoder circuit, where another pre-decoding circuit is available, and then it goes to the execution unit. So 2 times. So when the first instruction is being decoded, the second instruction is already in the decoder queue, and the third instruction is in the prefetch queue. Okay, so it creates a 3-stage pipeline where fetching and decoding and executions are happened in the simultaneous or in parallel mode. Okay, concurrently this three task has been implemented. That's why it has 3-stage pipelining concept. So here is the architecture part. .80486 architecture. So the architecture of 80486, it has 8 kilobyte of on-chip unified cache, which is here it is implemented. This 8 kilobyte of on-chip cache. Okay, unified cache is available for storing both code and data, and a floating point unit is available, which is here, floating point unit. And as well as the bus interface, which is connected to the external system bus and to the on-chip cache and the prefetch unit and the prefetcher unit. Now the prefetcher, which includes a 32 byte queue of prefetch instruction and is connected to the bus interface. It is connected to the bus interface cache, as well as the instruction decoder. Here instruction decoder is there, and the segmentation unit here also. So this prefetcher, actually it is connected in this way, this one, and to the instruction decoder, and this displacement bus to the segmentation unit. Now the cache unit, which includes an 8 kilobyte cache storing both code and data and cache management logic, it is connected to a 64-bit inter-unit transfer data bus. Okay, inter-unit transfer data bus to the segmentation unit. Here, this one, 64-bit. Why? Because 32 and 32, the combinations of these two buses, it creates a 64-bit inter-unit transfer bus, which is connected to the segmentation unit, ALU. Here also ALU and the floating point unit. The cache unit is also directly connected to the paging unit. Here this is connected via the paging unit, and the bus interface and the prefetcher through 128 lines, permitting the prefetching of 16 bytes of instructions at the same time. Now the cache is 4OA, state associated right through cache memory, which is implemented by 16 bytes per line. Okay. Next is the instruction decoder unit. Here this one is, which receives 3 bytes of uncoded means undecoded instructions from the prefetcher queue and transfer transfer to the transfer the decoding instruction to the control and protection test unit. Here control and protection test unit. Now the control and protection test unit, which generates micro instructions transmitted to other units and perform the protection testing. Okay, first it compares whether it is given in the same privilege level or not. According to the privilege level, the protection mode has been enabled, and it is created so that the no unauthorized access can be there in to perform any operation. Now the ALU, which includes general purpose register files are available, barrel shifter is there, and register for microcode use. So total registers are available in this position. Okay, now the floating point unit, which includes the floating point registers and adder and the multiplier and the shifter. So all these things are here. So in floating point unit, the segmentation unit, which includes segmentation management logic, descriptor registers, and breakpoint logic. Descriptor register is there and breakpoint logic. So limits, descriptor length, descriptor limit, everything must be given in this unit. It will be stored. The paging unit, which includes paging management logic and a 32-bit entry uh, table. 32-bit entry table. Here also there are four. Now the four memory banks are there, and the four memory banks can be accessed by these four signals BE0 to BE3. That is, all these are low level signal. Now B3 is used to enable the bank containing the bits D24 to D31, the upper 8 bit. BE0, that is BE0, that is used to enable the bank containing the bits D0 to D7. BE1, that is used to enable the bank containing D8 to D15. B2 is enabled the bits from D16 to D23, and B3, that is used to enable the D24 to D31. So now in 80486, cache is unified, holding both code and data. It uses a unified cache due to its simplicity of design and higher hit ratio, okay, in comparison with a dual cache of the same of total size. So all of you are familiar with the hit ratio. Hit means hit ratio, hit rate, so everything. So I will not discuss again this time these things. Hit ratio. Okay, so now different bus control signals are available if it is connected to any math coprocessor or numeric coprocessor is implemented here. Okay, another thing, like in 486 80486 for this microprocessor, 80487 another coprocessor is there, numeric coprocessor is there. You can connect it for more accurate operation or more complex instruction execution or for complex system. So here is the flag register of 80486 microprocessor. The flag register, everything will be same up to this one with the 8086, 286 and 386 microprocessor up to this D15. New flag that is available. So D15, this is D0, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All these are implemented up to 80386 microprocessor. So you have not the 80386 in your syllabus. So I will not discuss the 80386 microprocessor. You have only 80286 and 486 microprocessor and then Pentium. So until this the 17-bit VM virtual mode and the resume flag, it is applicable with 80386. So one new flag which is introduced as alignment check flag. Alignment check flag that is to be introduced in 80486 microprocessor. And what is the use of this alignment check flag? Actually, alignment check flag bit is nothing. It is used when there is an access to a misaligned address. Misaligned address, a fault or exception interrupt is generated. Like misaligned address means a word access to an odd address or a double word access to an address that is not on a double word boundary and so on. Okay, So if this kind of situation happens, then certain interrupt is being generated internally, and that is called the exception interrupt. Okay, now to avoid this kind of situation, this alignment flag has to be set to 1. Okay, to identify whether there is a misalignment address or not. Okay, so if you want to access a data byte from an even address or odd address, you must give the base address and the segment limit. Okay, you don't need to give beyond that segment limit, which is not present inside your address range. So if this type of misalignment has been given, so you have not that memory location in your memory space, but if you have tried to find out, so this is called one type of misalignment address. Okay, so this alignment can be checked using this flag, that is called alignment checking flag. So total is 32-bit register, but only up to D0 to D18 flags, D18 bits are used, and the rest of the bits are not used, and this flag register actually called E flag, extended flag. So after 80286, like in 80386, 487, 586, these registers are called extended registers or extended flag, like uh, extended code segment, ECS or EDS, or this type of. So for every register, one E has to be prefixed to that register name. So that means it is an extended version, okay, from the previous one. So that is the flag register concept. Now, how many operating modes are available? There are two modes, like in case of 80286, I have discussed the real address mode and protected virtual address mode. And what happened after reset? 80486 starts execution in the real address mode. Okay, now the real address mode operation, what happened? The 80486 initializes registers like peripherals, registers and peripherals, inter-vector table setup, descriptor table, and prepare itself for the protected mode. So the basic now in what happened in protected mode, it is right from the address formation to the descriptor types and structure. It is related. Protected mode is related to the address formation or to descriptor types and structure, as well as it supports a virtual 8086 mode for execution of 8086 applications. Okay, that is the another feature. So it supports a virtual 8086 mode. It is called virtual 8086 mode for execution of 8086 based applications, as well as the it protects the mechanism by using the privilege labels, and task, different tasks are available that can be protected, and different task means the like task switching from one portion to another portion, from one task to another task, paging, and the exception interrupt handling, everything. So basically it is a one type of this processor. It is used for multitasking environment. Okay, you can switch over your task from one task to another task anytime, but you have to maintain such logic properly, or you have to maintain the protection mechanism. Okay, so these two modes are available: real address mode and protected virtual address mode. And here this is the on-chip cache, how it looks like, how it is implemented. So I have given that 8 kilobytes of on-chip cache is there, 2 kilobyte. So it is divided into 4 banks, like 2 kilobytes each. So to accelerate, why this cache is so important? To accelerate the speed of operation, 8 kilobytes this on chip cache is available. Now However, even with this added feature, this 80486 is fully software compatible with other other previous microprocessor like 8086, 286, 386. These are the physical organization of the cache is given in this diagram, so that you can easily find out that 8 kilobytes of on-chip is on-chip cache is divided into 4 2 kilobytes associative memory blocks. Okay, now each 2 kilobytes of memory block is arranged in 16 byte column wise, 16 byte, this one column by 16 byte, and uh, row wise it is 128. That is, each of 128 rows, 128 rows, so each of 128 rows contains 16 bytes. Each of 128 rows contain 16 bytes. Okay, now each of the 128 row is associated with a 21 bit tag, 21 bit tag register. The cache is referred to by the row number and a block number, row number and block number. Okay, and a 16 byte row is divided into 4 bytes lines, 4 bytes lines, and any of the 4 lines cannot be accessed partially if a write operation is attempted to an address of which the segment descriptor is available in cache, and along with the cache the data is written to the external memory, otherwise it is only written to the external memory. Okay, so that is the on chip cache physical organization. Okay, so so join okay, so on next session after 5 minutes I will start the Pentium processor, so you all of you must click on the same link to continue the second session. Okay, so do you have any queries, any doubts relating to the 80486 microprocessor? Do you have any queries?